Hey guys, it's Lauren. Welcome back to the channel. I've been MIA since December, or I guess January technically. So I have a lot of books to go over from January, February, and as we're winding down in March, I'm going to share what I have finished so far. I've been seasonal depressed, on top of the normal everyday depression that you get. I am feeling good. It's springtime. The sun is out. It's warm, and I'm ready and excited for this year. Hopefully I'll have some more videos coming out for you guys soon and on a more regular basis. I'm excited to share the books that I have read this first quarter of the year. I got a lot to get through, so I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet. Grab a snack, grab a coffee, tea, water, a little drink if it's that time of night for you, or time of afternoon. I'm not judging. All right, so let's go ahead and get into all the books that I read in January. I read 6 books. I had a really good month of reading in January. Starting off, I read The Pearl by John Steinbeck. This is my first John Steinbeck ever. I ended up rating The Pearl 3.75 stars. It was really good. I enjoyed it. There was good lessons in it. This is a novella. It's kind of inspired by an old Mexican folklore. We follow a poor family. Their father's name is Kino, and he is a diver. The way his community in Mexico kind of makes their money is that they will go and dive. They'll grab a bunch of oysters, and they'll open on the oysters. They'll gather the pearls, and then they'll go and sell those pearls for money. And of course, they're never really getting good deals when they're doing this trading because capitalism wants poor people to stay poor and rich people to get richer. And we kind of see this reflected in this book. But basically what happens is one morning, Kino and his wife, they are kind of getting ready for the day, and they have an infant, a newborn, who gets stung by a scorpion. They're trying to help their son. They go run to the doctor, and the doctor comes and looks at them, and he is less than receptive to help their son. They finally get the baby kind of settled, and they try to get as much poison out as possible. Kino does a dive, and oyster kind of catches his eye, and he grabs it. He basically can see that this oyster is really special. He ends up taking it back up to the boat. They open it, and it's this giant pearl, as you can kind of see on the cover. This pearl kind of sends their lives in a tailspin because in theory, this pearl is going to set their family up for success, for wealth, to get out of poverty. They want to send their son to school, but for the rest of the community who's very poor, they see this pearl, and that's also their way out of poverty. So there's a lot of greed and jealousy, and you see how the doctor, the merchants start treating Kino and his family. They end up in a lot of mess, basically. And I thought this was very thought-provoking. It definitely made me think about the phrase, "What comes to you isn't always meant for you." And unfortunately, Kino has to face some really hard decisions on if he wants to, essentially, long story short, risk himself and his family's lives, because people, once they kind of get a taste of a little something, they can become quite scary. And, you hear sometimes of people who win like the Mega Millions, and they end up getting killed by either their family members or random people that know them because they want their money, right? So we kind of see a good parallel to modern times as well as here. It's just a good message. I found this book to be very interesting in how it explores the themes of capitalism, greed, how ambition can be good in some ways, but there's also ambition to where it becomes dangerous for you. And I felt that this novella kind of encapsulated that theme really well. So I definitely recommend checking this out. And I am going to read more John Steinbeck this year. I want to get into some more classics this year, and I think this was a good introduction to him. Now, if you know me, you know that I love romance. So I was able to read an arc called Game Over by Bella North. I've never read anything by this author before, so this was new to me. I found it on Netgalley as a read now for the audiobook. So this is a enemies to lovers kind of romance book. It follows 2 characters. Dylan, who is an ex-football player. He had a major injury. He had to be out a season. He's getting older. He tries to come back, but it just isn't the same. So he's kind of forced into retirement, and he is drinking his sorrow out at a bar, and he starts chopping it up with his bar neighbor, and he accidentally, quote unquote, well, I guess technically accidentally because he was like wasted, bought horses from this guy who was wanting to retire. Now, Dylan and his family grew up on a ranch in Colorado, and so he ends up with all these horses. And now he's like, what the heck am I supposed to do with all these horses? Meanwhile, we are meeting our heroine, Izzy, and she is kind of a firecracker. She's a single mom. She is living her life, and she is actually an employee of the gentleman who sold his horses to Dylan. Now, essentially, Izzy is on her way to see her friend at her job. Her friend works at a bar. She gets hit in the rear of her car by this guy. So she gets out. She's like, yo, what in the world are you doing? Like, I know you saw me. Like, what the heck? Now my car is basically almost totaled. Gets out of the car, and it's Dylan. Now, she doesn't know that Dylan is a football player or that she's about to be forced to work for him. But they meet. They have an altercation. She gets in her car, drives away, and they end up meeting at a bar, running into each other at the bar that Dylan's in. They share this really charged moment where she's like, it's you. The setup of this book was really funny, and classic enemies to lovers. Like, they kind of got off on the wrong foot. I wouldn't really say enemies. I would just say strong annoyance and dislike of the other person on both sides. I found this book to be very cute. I thought that it was sweet. I'm someone who loves the enemies to lovers trope, so that trope is usually always going to do it for me. No matter if the book is like super incredible or not. I will say that this book wasn't super cheesy, and I didn't hate any of the main characters or even the side characters. I thought everyone was pretty solid. They had good character arcs. They learned, they forgave, and opened themselves up to the possibilities of, you know, falling in love and accepting better for themselves, things like that. I loved Dylan's relationship with Izzy's daughter, Maddie. I thought that it was so sweet, and he really took her under his wing and made her feel safe and appreciated and seen, because Matt's father isn't in the picture, and he's kind of like one of those flaky parents, which was annoying for me to read. Of course, I have a few qualms, and it's been so long I don't really remember what they were, but long story short, I did enjoy this book. It's good if you want like a nice fluffy easy read. I definitely recommend this book, and I rated this a 3.5. I feel like I'm not looking at the camera a lot, so sorry, but I'm having to reference my reviews and notes because it's been quite a while. Now, the next book that I read was probably one of my favorites that I read in January, and it is called Just Watch Me by Liz Tomforte. No, it's not. Leor Torenberg. I got this sent to me by Avid Reader Press, so thanks guys for sending that copy to me as an ARC. This is such a different kind of book. Definitely unique in its premise. It was very crazy. So Just Watch Me is about a girl who is living in a basically shoebox apartment in New York. She does not have a bathroom in her unit, which, yes, that is illegal. So she's having to use her neighbor, who's become like her best friend's bathroom. That was like the craziest thing to me, because I was like, what do you mean you don't have a bathroom in your, not even like a toilet in the corner? Like, that's crazy. Anyways, so she's living in this apartment. She is broke. She just quit her job because she was kind of over the whole situation and stressed out. And to top it all off, her sister is in a coma. And if you know anything about end of life care, essentially, it gets very, very, very expensive. Basically, Dell, the name of our female lead, she and her mother are wanting to move her sister into like a private home health to be on a ventilator, essentially. But that will run you like, 10 plus grand a week. She's having really hard time letting go at the thought of letting her sister go. Dell decides, well, rent is due in like a week. I'm $1,400 short on rent. In this universe, there's a platform that is very similar to like Twitch, where people can watch live streams and donate money. Dell decides to show up, and she is making money essentially by eating hot peppers and doing a lot of different things with hot peppers, getting hotter and hotter and hotter to win money. But this also turns into kind of a metaphor for like self-harm. I found this to be super intriguing and really entertaining. Dell is such an unlikable character, but you really learn to empathize with her and feel pain with her, even though she is like Oh my gosh, so insufferable. The decisions that she was making, I was like, girl, why would you do that? This was deeply stressful, heartbreaking, annoying in some ways. I really enjoyed this book a lot. I rated it 4 stars. It's a slice of life kind of novel. We follow Dell in each day of her life for a week and just watch her kind of devolve into her having to force herself to ask for help and figure out how she's going to deal with her sister and then the consequences that Dell has to make with some of the decisions that she made. Definitely recommend you guys checking out Just Watch Me. Now, the next book that I read in January was called Is She Really Going Out With Him by Sophie Cousins. I feel like this needs to be a Sophie Cousins stan account. I've read 2 books by her and they are both so cute and sweet and heartwarming. I feel like Sophie Cousins writes books that feel like they're really inspired by Nora Ephron and her rom-coms. Like, that's the kind of warm 2000s cozy feeling that I get from her books. It is about a mom who's been divorced for about a year from her husband. He kind of decided to, I don't even know how to explain it. You know, sometimes those husbands are like, they're really chill and cool, but they secretly just like don't like their wife. Like, he was kind of giving a little bit of that, but he decides he's going to get fit and like start exercising and do better for himself. Meanwhile, he's like growing resentful of his wife, and then he starts dating this younger girl in the office, that kind of thing. Anyway, so this is like a year post-divorce. Her husband's kind of moved on, has been dating his girlfriend now for a while. So our main character in this book, her name is Anna, and she's a writer for a local like newspaper, magazine kind of thing. There's a coworker that she has named Will, and he's like this younger guy, pretty handsome. He's kind of a hot shot. He is ambition. People like his ideas, and Anna just really doesn't like him because he kind of feels like he owns the place. Like, you know, those guys that are just like really overconfident and loud, but everyone loves them and they want to be their friend. All the girls are fawning over him, and Anna is just like so annoyed by him and his presence. She thinks he's obnoxious and everything. So it's kind of like one-sided beef with Anna versus Will, and his personality is chill too, so he will kind of bicker back with her, but does it with like a smug look on his face, and it just infuriates Anna to no end. So unfortunately, the newspaper magazine that they are working for is kind of losing money to the digital age. They want to kind of bring more readers in, younger readers into this magazine. I want to say it's a magazine. So Anna pitches a column where she's going to get back out to the dating world, right? Her first couple of dates aren't really going well. Her children think, well, why don't we pick a date for you? And so the story is kind of about Anna finding herself through these different gentlemen that she goes out on a date with, and she'll write a column about the date. And she ends up being paired alongside Will because he's going to go the more like dating app, dating website kind of angle, while Anna is wanting to meet people in person and date people around in her community. So while Anna is dating these people, Will's dating the girls he's dating. They're having to work together still, but the walls of Anna kind of start breaking down. She kind of starts to see different sides of Will. He starts talking to her a little more kindly. He's giving her compliments and feedback on her work. And it's a very quiet, oh, I think I have a crush on him. But no, he's too young, because this is a little bit of an age gap romance as well. She's feeling insecure in her body because she's had 2 children. She's feeling like he's not even looking at me in that way. But let me tell you, Will is looking at her in that way. I really love this book. It was so cute. Normally, I do not like kids in books. I just find them to be incredibly annoying, and like they're just annoying. However, in this book, I love the roles that Anna's children played in the story. I thought it was so sweet. I love the guys that they were picking for their mom, like, and their reasoning why they were picking the guy for her. I just found it to be so cute and charming and heartwarming. I thought the love story in this was super sweet. It made sense. It is a happily ever after. I hope that's not a spoiler, it's a romance book, but it's done in a way that feels so realistic. Like, both people kind of have to make compromises in order to make the relationship work, and it just feels very realistic to me. I love this book. I rated it 5 stars. I was obsessed with it. I cried, I was laughing, I was swooning. I cannot wait to read more by Sophie. Love her. Next one is Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. Now this is a historical fiction set in 1970s Montgomery, Alabama, and this is actually inspired by a true story by two real women who are still living in the state of Alabama, actually. This book was infuriating and sad, but also really informative as well. Essentially, this follows a young nurse who is working for like a family planning clinic in Montgomery, and she gets assigned these two girls that live out in the sticks of Alabama, and they're essentially living in, I don't even know, glorified slave quarters basically behind the property of this white family's house, and the daddy is doing work for basically almost free for this family, farming and stuff for them. The nurse goes to the family to give birth control to these girls. Now the thing with the girls is they're 13 and 11 years old. The birth control that the nurse is coming to give to these girls, she's expecting them to be like, 15, 16 years old, and they're getting prescribed the depot shot, which at the time was released fresh in the 70s. The youngest girl hadn't even had her first cycle yet, and they already want to put the girl on birth control. This book was was incredibly infuriating to read. Like, I cannot believe this is happening, and it's honestly in some ways still happening in this country today. I can't even form a thought about this book. Actually, it's kind of making me angry. This book is about the forced sterilization of many, many young black and brown women, poor black and brown women through the 60s, 70s, 80s. It's happening in prisons to this day. It was very eye-opening for me, and it's not something that you read about in history books. In school, I learned about the Tuskegee experiments, which I had never heard about before, through this book, because this was kind of going around the same time, where doctors truly felt like black people were a different species of person, essentially, and so they were injecting a lot of these black men with syphilis and just kind of watching and seeing what happened so they could study the disease. And it ended up killing hundreds if not thousands of black men in the 60s and 70s. So I learned a little bit more about that, and I did end up rating this book 4 stars. That's not to say that it wasn't a 5-star worthy read. It definitely was, but I felt like the author, the way the story was being told by one of the characters, I didn't love, but I thought that this was a really good book to read. Very eye-opening. I learned a lot, and to this day, I'm appalled by some of the stuff that was happening. That is still happening. But anyways, I digress. The last book that I read in January was finally Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Now, I did a buddy read of this with my friend Annie. Hi, Annie. And I was obsessed with this book. I thought it was so good. This is a dystopian future. This is about a kid named Darrow, and he is classified in this society as a red. Now, there are different colors that represents different statuses in this society. So there's red, there's browns, there's pinks, and then there's golds, and golds are the pinnacle of society. They're at the very top of the top. Darrow is basically living his life as what's called a hell diver, and he's drilling into Mars to, I don't even know what they're doing down there, to be honest with you. I forget. He is under the impression that they are drilling so that there can be a better society for the future. They never go up to the surface. They live in Mars itself. Long story short, there's something that happens to Darrow and his family, and he is given the opportunity to infiltrate upper society as a gold and go to a academy so that he can kind of be the spearhead for a revolution and to liberate the people everywhere, people who deserve it and need it. Darrow is a very interesting character. He's very layered. He's a little bit morally ambiguous in some ways. He is constantly contradicting himself in some ways, but I feel like he's a very real and human character. I really, really, really enjoyed this book. I love a dystopian novel. I think this is YA. I think. I could be wrong. So if you like Hunger Games, if you like Divergent, probably really enjoy Red Rising. There were some points of this that I felt like, girl, this is boring. But it was still intriguing enough that I was locked in, and the ending of this book was so good. It was so good. I was definitely worried it was going to be overhyped because people really, really ride down for this book, but I understand it. I get the hype and I can't wait to continue on in the series. Okay, so that was everything that I read in January. And now we are going to get to everything that I read in February. All right, so I read 7 books. Since it's Black History Month, I always try to prioritize and read books by Black authors. Bro. Literally the loudest car I've ever heard in my life. 5 books were by Black authors and 2 were by non-Black authors. First thing that I read was Finding Me by Viola Davis. This is her memoir, and oh my word, this book was so good. Do you understand me? This book was so good. Please read this book, please. I'm not someone who normally reads memoirs because I don't really care about celebrities' lives like that for real. Viola Davis is such a incredible actress. She's beautiful. She has come so far in her life. She really was grinding out for a very long time. So I've always enjoyed her as an actor. I love everything that she's ever acted in. I was absolutely floored by her memoir. It was heartbreaking. It was so inspiring. I felt like I could run through a brick wall after I finished reading it. She's such an incredible writer. Like, the way she told her story was so engaging and just so good. And she's been through so much trauma and hardships in her life, and seeing how she kind of got into acting, how acting basically literally saved her life, was so beautiful to reading about how she met her husband and how they fell in love. Her commentary on being a dark-skinned Black woman, I loved how she kind of called out Hollywood directly on a lot of the tropes that we are still seeing on TV today, and how she got to a point where she was like, I'm not doing that. Either you cast me and let my character do this, or I'm walking. And they were able to let her do that, like in shows like How to Get Away with Murder. She's incredible. Even though a lot of in this book, like, I personally have never experienced and probably will never experience, I felt so connected to her and seen by her. I highly recommend this memoir. I hope that it is forever awarded, and I hope Viola Davis always has her flowers. She will always be famous. Like, this book was so good. So good. 5 stars if you haven't already guessed. Love this book. The next book that I read was a little bit of a disappointment. I had really high hopes for it, and that was The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I actually tried to read it last year on audio, and I was reading it and I was like, this is kind of boring. I don't really like it. So I kind of put it away for a little bit, and then I decided to try and pick it up again this year. I read the physical copy of it, and I think I enjoyed that a little bit better than listening to it on audio. This book is about 2 twin sisters. Their names are Stella and Desiree. Back in the day, think about Jim Crow South, okay? Which you hear kind of remnants of it still today. Sorry if you're not following me. Just lock in for 2 seconds with me, okay? There was something called the 1-drop rule, which meant that if you had any type of mixed race blood in you, right? If you were mixed race, if your grandparents were Black, if your great-grandparents are Black, society would still count you as a Black person. Now, what's interesting in this story is the fact that these 2 sisters, Stella and Desiree, their whole community that they live in are these really fair Black people, okay? Like, super light-skinned. To the average person, if you were walking down the street and you saw them, you would not think like, oh, that's a Black person, right? And in modern times, these are people that you may not think have Black parents or grandparents. And I can give you people today that you know. Halsey is one, Pete Wentz, Haley Steinfeld, Maya Rudolph. People are shocked when they find that she's Black. Rashida Jones, Quincy Jones' daughter. These are all people who would, if they were placed back into the 1900s Jim Crow South, they would be considered Black because they have Black heritage. So in this story, these twin sisters are living in this community that was founded by these Black people who are white presenting, because presenting and passing are 2 different things, and that'd be really messing some of y'all up, okay? White passing is not white presenting. 2 different things. This whole community is full of these light-skinned Black people. Desiree is kind of itching to get out of their community to see the world. She does not like living there. Stella is kind of like a passive sister. She's kind of just will go with the flow. Like, this is how it's always been, so this is how we're gonna live. The sisters decide, you know what, forget it. We're gonna leave and start a new life. So they do. They go to New Orleans. Eventually, Stella decides that she is going to start white passing, which means that she's going to essentially abandon everything that makes her a black woman and present to the world as a white woman. That way she can get a better job. That way she can have better opportunities because she is a white person. At the time, this was really dangerous. Like, you could be literally killed for this or put in jail for this. I think they get in a fight. I don't remember. They get in a fight or something. They split up. Desiree ends up moving to Washington, D.C., where she meets a black man, and they have a daughter, and their daughter ends up being dark-skinned like her father. And so turns out that Desiree's husband ends up becoming abusive, and they run away, and she goes back home, where her daughter unfortunately has to face a lot of racism and colorism within her own community, within her own family, which is really sad, and it's still a problem in the black community. That's a whole other thing. Stella just falls off the face of the earth. Like, no one has seen from her in decades. The story kind of follows the sisters in their lives, and then the story kind of follows Stella's daughter and Desiree's daughter. Desiree's daughter, Jude, ends up going to school in California, and Stella's daughter, whose name is Kennedy, ends up running into Jude, and Jude sees Stella and is like, is that my mom? And then she's like, oh my gosh, that's my aunt. And so there's a lot of things that happen in this book, okay? This is going to be baby spoilers in here because while I thought this book was good, I rated it 3 stars. 3 stars or 3.5 stars? I rated this book 3.5 stars because the book is really not about the twin sisters at all. The majority of the book is about their daughters and their daughters' friends. Thought that this book was going to be. I thought it was going to be about the story of the twin sisters and their lives, but it ended up being more about Jude's boyfriend who's trans and his life. There was a lot of extra stuff in this book that I didn't know that I was going to be getting. And while it wasn't bad, it's not bad at all. I wish this book was about the twin sisters. It can be about their daughters for sure, but so much of the side characters had chapters dedicated to them and their lives. I was like, what does this have to do with the twin sisters? This has nothing to do with the twin sisters. Like, the ending was bad. I didn't like this book, but I still rated it 3.5 stars because it does open up a good conversation about colorism and acceptance and who you are. It just wasn't my favorite. So anyways, that's all I have to say about that. Now, the next book that I read, definitely one of my favorites from February, and it is called Hardly Strangers by A.C. Robinson. Publisher of this book is 831 Stories, and their bread and butter is basically these short little novellas that are romance based on whatever trope you want, but they kind of are fan fiction facing, if that makes sense. Like, kind of elevated AO3, elevated Wattpad. And as someone who is a fangirl, like, that's my bread and butter. I was on Wattpad at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, okay? Reading One Direction, 5 Seconds of Summer. I was reading the fan fiction, okay? And it was good. And it was everything that I needed in my life. I love fan fiction, and I love fandoms, and I love being a fangirl. If I'm not anything but obsessive. I loved Hardly Strangers because it scratched that fan fiction itch while still feeling grown up. And I was obsessed with it. Basically, this is about... This book is so good. This book is so good. I rated it 4 stars. It could have been better. If you read the reviews, very mixed reviews. I liked it, but I feel like this would either work for you or you're gonna hate it. Like, and there's no middle. You either love it like me, or you're like, this is the worst piece of literature I've ever read. So just keep that in mind. If you're not someone who is a fan fiction kind of girl and you don't like that really tropey, really toxic, you're not gonna like this. So this is about a girl named Shira, and she's been kind of crushing on this guy for a really long time. I think his name was like Will or Josh or something like that. And they finally get the opportunity to kind of go out, have a little date, and he is mad late. Okay, she's also dating in LA. That's also important to the story. So she's at this bar with her friends. She's still kind of reeling from a breakup that she had that really broke her heart because her ex cheated on her. While she's waiting for this date from this guy, I really don't remember his name, but he's irrelevant, okay? There's a guy in this bar who notices her, right? And his name is, his name is Max, okay? Now, I want you to envision Max as like Hosier in a different font. Because I feel like this was inspired by Hosier. Because he's Irish, and he's a front man of a band, like an indie band. And he's tall, and he has long dark hair, and it's kind of curly. Hosier. And I love Hosier. So I think that's why I really like this book, because I was just envisioning Hosier, and I was like self-insert, like, if this was a movie, they casted me alongside alongside Hosier. you know? Anyways, so she meets Max. He's very engaging and he's very charming. And he's like, wow, you're really beautiful. I would love to talk to you some more. How about we go walk to the convenience store and go, because I need a pack of cigarettes and like I can get you like a little soda or something. She's like, what the? No, like that's random. I'm waiting on a guy for a date. And he's like, well, where is he? I would never do that to you. And she's like, you know what? You're right. So they walk to the store. They have a little chat. It's just the vibes of this book are so good. What's cool about this book is that those quiet moments, those intimate moments between the two is just conversation between them. And it's like you see first meeting, they're already kind of arguing, already kind of going over hard topics, hard things, and they're kind of getting it all off of their chest. And there's something so much more intimate about sharing your life with someone in like details that you struggle with or things that make you feel insecure or sad or even like things that make you really happy, that's really what the bonding is between you and another person that you like. And I feel like this book kind of does that really well, in my opinion. I could not put it down. It was so good. Love this book if you like a little bit of messy, toxic kind of relationship. Like, I don't know if they would last in real life because it's like, girl, he got some problems and you got some problems. How about therapy for everybody? How about that? But I really enjoyed this book. I'm definitely going to read more from this publisher. So next book I read in February was Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. You already know how I feel about this book. 5 stars. It's S.A. Cosby. Need I say more? This book is about a guy named Bug, and he used to be a getaway driver for crime. You know, a getaway driver kind of implies that you're doing some stuff that you might need to get away from quickly. So he's been out of the life for a while. He's married, he's got sons, and he's just trying to be a normal citizen, right? Unfortunately, a rival repair shop has just opened up in this town in Virginia. Bug is a mechanic. He has his own body shop, and they've been stealing a lot of customers from Bug essentially because they're cheaper, they're more corporate, that kind of thing. During this time, you know, he's late on his mortgage for his home. He's late on the rent for his shop, probably like 1 to 2 months away from having to close. His mother, who's in an assisted living, they just said, hey, she actually lied about something on her form regarding like money that she has. So we're actually going to charge her like $14,000 to stay here or she's got to get out. Now, while all this is going on, Bug gets approached by an ex-acquaintance, essentially, who offers him the opportunity to do one more job. And he's kind of grappling with, one, being out of that life, but two, he really wants to support his family. He's a little bit of a morally gray character because he's not doing good things. Like, he's making bad decisions, but it's all in the name of taking care of his family. Also, he has this kind of connection to his father who left after a kind of insane incident that happened. And I'm not going to spoil it because I was like, there's no way. Oh my gosh. He's aching for that missing piece in himself. This is basically if something like Narcos, Grand Theft Auto was kind of in a book, like old school Fast and Furious. That's like kind of the vibe of this book. And again, it's S.A. Cosby, who's probably my top 3 favorite author of all time. He writes every character with intention. He writes backstories for the characters. Even if you don't know them, S.A. Cosby writes them, and it kind of propels how our characters move and act in their world. I was enthralled in this book. There were many times where I was so nervous and so scared about what was about to happen. I still think I like All the Sinners Bleed as my number 1 S.A. Cosby book, and I'm almost done with S.A. Cosby's catalog. I have 2 more books of his to read. He's such a good author. Great read if you want something thrilling and on the edge of your seat and stressful. Love. Next book that I got to in February was actually called The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. Now, I picked this book up last year during one of my book outlet hauls. This is a book that follows a Black astronaut, an event planner who live in Houston, and they kind of have to do this fake engagement kind of thing. I like this book. Is it a little cheesy and not that great? Yes. I rated 3.5 stars. As I'm sitting on it, it's been a month. I'm probably leaning more towards like just like a solid 3, but it was not bad at all. It's just like your classic fluffy kind of rom-com kind of book. There are some things now that I'm looking at it like this is kind of insane. basically it's about this event planner. She was in a long-term relationship for a really long time. Her boyfriend breaks up with her, so she's kind of dealing with the grief of losing that relationship. Meanwhile, she's living like in her dream apartment in Houston. She has her dream job as an event planner. Something goes wrong and she's basically blacklisted from all event planning. So she's kind of having to start over with a new business that she's running by herself. She's really struggling getting contacts, and then her rent decides it's going to raise like 200%, and she is going to be forced to either move back home with her parents, move in with her best friend, or be homeless. And then one day she's at this coffee shop that she lives really close to, and she runs into her ex and his new girlfriend. Meanwhile, the day before, she was getting coffee with her friend. She actually spills coffee on this guy, and he's being really sweet and like trying to like hit on her, and she's like, ew, get away from me. And when she runs into her ex, the guy that she spilled her coffee on happens to also be in the coffee shop. And so she's like, oh my gosh, actually I'm dating someone too. He's right there. And so they kind of have to put on this like fake relationship for not only her ex, because he's being really suspicious about it, but also for him and his family, because he is an astronaut and he's going to space for a mission, and his family is getting really kind of weird about him. I don't really know actually what his family's problem is. Like, I know now because I've read it, but like it's such a dumb reason why his family, you know, fake dating, fake engagement doesn't really work a lot of times in the modern world. It really works in like Regency era or back in the day. Like a lot of times fake dating just does not work because who cares that much? Like, I'm not really checking your pocketbooks like that. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that being said, this was a fun, cute, fluffy read. I listened to the audiobook and read the physical copy of it. It's not my favorite book. It's not the worst book I've ever read. I think it's a fun little beach read, like nothing too crazy, a lot of fluff. But there are some issues with it now that I'm like thinking about it a month past. What can you do? Okay, so now the two books by non-Black authors that I read. The first one, The One by John Mars. Holy cow. This book was insane, so good. It was kind of feeling like a Black Mirror episode. I really enjoyed this book. I rated it 5 stars. My review on Fable for this book is just genuinely, this was an insane book to read. And it was. It's about a DNA test that this woman develops, and it can genetically match you to your soulmate, the person that you are genetically most compatible with. In theory, that's incredible. What happens is people who have maybe been together before this test comes out, they take the test, oh, we're not compatible. And then they meet the person they're compatible with, and it's like, I gotta leave you. This is the person that I'm supposed to be with. So it's broken up marriages. It doesn't care if you're a girl or a boy. If you're genetically linked to this person, you are genetically linked to this person. I don't care. Reading this book, I was like, would I take this test? I don't know if I would. There are a few couples in this book that take the test. There are a couple that doesn't want to take the test because they've already been together pre-testing. There's a couple that they live across the planet from each other. The developer herself finally breaks down, takes the test. There's a serial killer in this book who's also taking the test. Like, it's crazy. I don't even know how to explain this book. There's just a lot of drama. There is a lot of suspense in this book. It's a thriller, but it's also like anthology. I really, really enjoyed this book. It was something that I've thought about in the back of my brain. Like, I wonder if there's like a test that you could take. I wonder if people are genetically more aligned with each other, like DNA. Maybe think about a lot of different things. This book was so good. It was crazy. There's also a TV show called The One. It's on Netflix. I'm gonna watch it. And I think there's also another version of the show or inspired called Soulmates that AMC made. It's a whole series of kind of these psychological thrillers and questions. There's one about marriage is the goal, and if you're single, you're like legally penalized for being single. There's one about families, like you have to take a test to get a kid, or if you have a kid, you have to like go through this like training course. There are a lot of different versions of this kind of world that the author has decided to create in his weird little brain. So I'm definitely going to read more books by him. And the last book that I read in February, this was actually a recommendation from one of my friends, and I read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This is the second book by Christina Lauren that I've read, and I really liked it. Now, this is a fake dating marriage a convenience that actually makes sense. This is about a girl named Anna and a guy named Wes. Now, when Anna was in college, she could not afford to live in student housing. And there was this guy named Weston who wanted a better deal, wanted a better apartment. So he and Anna got married on paper to be able to afford and live as roommates in this like family housing unit. So they live together, they go through college, they both graduate. At the time, Anna was studying to be a doctor. She ended up changing her major into like a fine arts degree. And then West, I want to say, had like a master's in like business or something like that. Or no, a master's in anthropology. That's a store. I'm going to put it on the screen when I find out. This is what he was in school for. Okay, so college is done and then they get divorced. Or so Anna thinks. Fast forward some years later, Anna is still broke. She's renting with a roommate. It's like not bad, but it's also like not great. Anna goes to work and she ends up getting fired because she got a piece of gum and forgot to pay for it at the register, and she's been there like 8 years. They fire her. So now Anna's wallowing in her apartment. She's in her PJs, unwashed. Her hair is crazy, watching cartoons, high, eating cereal out of like a big mixing bowl. When she gets a knock on her door, and who is it? West. And she doesn't really remember who he is, and he just looks like, what have I done? Long story short, West's family has required him to come to his sister's wedding on this private island in Thailand, and he needs finally to introduce his quote-unquote wife to his family. And this is so that he can secure his inheritance. Now, West's family is the owner of the Weston's grocery stores. In the book, they're like the number 3 most popular grocery store in the United States, and he is the heir to the family business. Now, the thing with West is he does not want a part of the family business because his dad is an absolute jerkwad. Oh my God. I've never hated a character more than his father. Like, the absolute worst, what I imagine every billionaire to be like, actually. He does not want a part of his family business, but the only thing is, because he got married per his inheritance from his grandfather who started the business, that kind of triggers his inheritance, right? And he has to be married for love, because he has to be married at least, I think, 5 years before he can get the bulk of his inheritance and his like portion of the company, essentially. He and Anna have to be fake married for an entire week in Thailand leading up to his sister's wedding. This is the one time where marriage at convenience, fake dating worked for me, because they have to. It made sense. And then when they get back, they can get divorced and move on with their lives. I loved this book. One, because both of our main characters were adults. They're both in their 30s. I liked that they communicated. I mean, there was some miscommunication, but the conversations felt like how adults really talk and will figure things out. I thought it was funny. I love seeing Anna stand up for herself and be like, hey, you're not going to treat waitstaff like this. You're not going to treat me like this. Like, you are the reason why we say eat the rich. Like, gag that she did that. Love her so much for that. I love that West is an ethical billionaire. I think he wanted to like donate like 80% of his heritage like with a charity that he founded himself. He's not thrown by the love of money, which I thought was an interesting take on a billionaire romance. I thought it was really fun, and I want to go to Thailand and be on the beach and do fun stuff. Why not me? So that's everything that I read in February. So now let's get into my March books. So I'm gonna go a little bit out of order here because I have a couple of different genres and things that have happened. I finished book 3 and 4 of the Murderbot Diaries, and this kind of completes the first section of novellas of the Murderbot Diaries. The third book is Rogue Protocol, and the fourth book is Exit Strategy. I rated both of these 4 stars. I just really love Murderbot. I love his humor. I love his aversion to human life, and because at the end of the day he is just a robot. In book 3, he is basically traveling to a mining facility where he is trying to uncover some more dirt on Greycrest, the original company in book 1 that kind of sabotaged a mission and what he thinks is the reason why he went rogue in the first place. In the third book, he actually teams up with a regular like personal friend robot called Mickey, and what's different about Mickey is that he is neither a security bot nor a combat bot. He's just kind of like a friend to the team that he's working with. And from book 2, Murderbot is a little bit more human with augments kind of leaning because of the makeover he did with Art. So he kind of disguises, quote unquote, himself as like a security lead to be able to work with the humans that he's with in Rogue Protocol. In this one, he has to deal with some feelings around his previous experiences with humans because Mickey is kind of seen as a friend, but more of like almost more of a pet in a way to the team. And that's something that really bothers Murderbot because he doesn't want to be human, but he definitely doesn't want to be treated like a pet. So it kind of forces him to kind of work through some emotions that he's having around his role as a sec unit. I really liked book 3. And then in book 4, he is going back home to help Dr. Mensa, which was the team in the first novella, because she has come home, kind of had to face Grey Chris and on the fact that they've been doing some corrupt things. So in this one, Murderbot really is risking his own comfort and safety to save Dr. Mensa, who kind of helped him in order to, well, he kind of left them, but to be free. And it kind of makes him grapple with the idea of him caring, quote unquote, for these humans, because we know that he's averse to being human and being close with humans. So he is having to face his own kind of worries regarding that. And again, I rated that one another 4 stars. I actually was able to get an arc for the 8th novella, which I'm very excited to have, but that means I have to catch up. So I'm kind of spamming through these books as fast as I can while still enjoying them for the release of novella 8 that comes out in, I want to say, August. I'm very excited to get to that book, but I've enjoyed my first quartet of the Murderbot Diaries. I definitely recommend them if you're into sci-fi. This is a true sci-fi book about an AI robot who is hacked into his own module and is kind of experiencing free will, and he's also kind of on the run too. They're funny, they're snarky, the humor works for me, and I really like them. First couple weeks of March, I was reading 2 books. The first one that I finished was Out of the Woods by Miss Hannah Bodum Young, and it follows Sarah and her husband Caleb. Now, Sarah and Caleb are high school sweethearts. They've been together since they were 13 years old, was each other's first love, first boyfriend, first girlfriend, and they have been together forever, and they've been pretty strong. They've made a name for themselves. They've chosen to be child-free. Caleb has a very successful tech company. What's cool about this book is it's the marriage in trouble trope, which I don't think I've read one before. I've read a divorce and they come back together story, but I haven't read a book where they're married and they're having issues and they're trying to work through them. But in this book, they're trying to work back to each other because they've gotten kind of distant. Sarah herself has lost her mom, and she is dealing with the grief of losing her mother. And Caleb is the kind of guy, I mean, it is a green flag for sure, but he's the kind of guy, well, let me just fix it. And so Sarah is in her own way feeling like she's never had to find herself. She's never gotten the opportunity to really explore what she likes, what she doesn't like. And she also has been feeling kind of smothered is the wrong word, but she's been feeling just disconnected from Caleb because he works a lot and they never really fight. So she's kind of holding in everything that's been bothering her. But they decide essentially to go on a retreat, a camping retreat where it's no phone, nothing, just them, a tent, some sleeping bags, and a group of other people who do that once a year to reconnect to each other. And it was really sweet and tender, and I loved that Sarah got the opportunity to finally let go of the bottled feelings and emotions that she had. She was able to be there for someone else who was dealing with the loss of a parent, and through that friendship she created, she was able to kind of get through the grief of some unresolved feelings about losing her mother. And in the way that she lost her mother, she was able to communicate with Caleb on how she was feeling when he always has to kind of do the quote unquote knight in shining armor kind of thing, how it makes her feel like she isn't capable of problem solving for herself, and she's kind of lost the ability to trust herself, that she knows how to fix something. It's great to have his help, but sometimes I just need to work through the issue with you as a support, not you taking over. And I loved loved how Caleb kind of reacted to that. Caleb had his own issues with his parents and feeling kind of like not enough. Am I spoiling this? I hope not. I'm so sorry. But the book is really good. I mean, there's a lot more that happens. It's a really good book. It's really sweet and tender and realistic in a lot of ways, which I feel like a lot of couples in long-term relationships, me being single, I don't really know that much, but you know, you have to continue to show up for each other and continue to get to know each other and date each other no matter how long you've been together, because the best relationship is one where you can kind of grow and evolve together, and you have to keep falling in love with the version of the person that's in front of you currently, because things may happen, major family trauma, if you lose a parent, if you lose your job, if you have a new set of friends or you're in a new area, like there are things that can change you as a person. And if you're in a relationship, you kind of have to learn to love the new version of the person that you're married to or in your relationship with, and then vice versa. You may be feeling different or be going through something that's different, and you need them to be there and support you in your new version. So I thought it was very sweet and fluffy and cute, and we got little cameos of Wynn and Bo from Out on a Limb, and I loved it. I thought it was super sweet and it was really cute. Now, the next book that I read in March was a book that I had on hold for my library for probably, I think, like 6 months or more. I was on hold forever for the audio version of this book, and it was Listen to a Lot by Amy Tintera. Now, I have Kindle Unlimited, so I wanted to tandem read, immersive read with the audio and the physical copy or digital, whatever, of the book. I got the audiobook, and it's that kind of style that I like, which is a podcast within a thriller book. So basically, Listen for the Lie is actually the name of the podcast, I'm pretty sure. So this is about a girl named Lucy, and she has been accused of murdering her best friend. Lucy does not remember what happened to her friend. She remembers that night in pieces, but she only remembers like the moments before leaving the house that evening and then waking up basically in the hospital with her family surrounding her. What's cool about the podcast element is that you get to meet the cast of characters in this small community in Texas. Everyone's kind of giving their side of the events, and we know as readers just as much as our female main character Lucy. And I had theories throughout this entire book, but I was like, it's got to be this person. And I was like, well, I don't know, they're kind of being shady, maybe it's this person. And the podcast element really allows you to kind of see everyone's personalities and what they think they know about the two girls, and even the families involved. Girl, there was some mess in this book, and also like, this is unethical. I thought this was such a fun book to read. I definitely recommend the audiobook because it does have that podcast element to it. For a minute, I thought Lucy had like a split personality, and I was like, well, maybe she did do it, you know, just like everybody else was thinking she did it. So I was even shocked when it got down to it. I highly recommend this book. I rated it 4 stars. Could it have been a little tighter? Yes. There is some, like, you gotta suspend some disbelief here, but this is a super fun book. This at the beach would absolutely hit. I really enjoyed this book, and I definitely recommend checking out Listen for the Lie. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about one of the arcs that I read this month, and it was called Westward Women by Alice Martin, and I got this book from St. Martin's Press. I found it on Netgalley, and the premise sounded pretty cool. Essentially, it's 1970s United States, and there is a new pandemic on the rise. The one thing about this pandemic in general is the fact that it's only affecting women ages about 16 to 18 all the way up to 35. The way this virus or infection works is that the women, all of a sudden, they become really lethargic and they're unmotivated. They don't want to take care of their homes or their families. Mainly, they describe it as almost like a fungus. Like, they don't really know how it's spreading between the women, and things are just weird. But the most weird thing about it is these women kind of become, not like zombies, but they are kind of migrating to the West Coast, where many of them are never heard from ever again. They just disappear. No one sees them, no one hears from them, and that's it. What's interesting about this book is it kind of is at its core a book about feminism and the kind of invisibility of women, and how a lot of people, because of patriarchal standards, XYZ, women are not believed. We are treated less than. We are treated like objects, XYZ, all the things. But the way that this book kind of explores those themes is through this virus or this fungus, this pandemic that is affecting only women. In most books we read, okay, there's vaccines, there's treatments. In this book, there's none of that. They're just kind of letting the women dwindle away. I found this book so interesting. There's a little bit of like a thriller, Criminal Minds kind of aspect to it in there too. I liked this book. I didn't love it. I really kind of wish it leaned a little bit more into a horror kind of angle. It was more so a literary, historical fiction, a little dystopian, touches of horror / thriller, but I wish it leaned a little harder into it because it felt like a lot of the writing was just for the vibe, just to be atmospheric, to get the theming across, just lean in just a little bit more. Overall, I did really like this, and it's definitely one of the more unique books that I've read in a while. I thought that it was really thought-provoking. It made me think. I think it's worth the read. I really enjoyed it. Okay, my next book that I read, and I'm surprised that I actually liked, was called When in Rome by Sarah Adams. Now, the reason I say I'm surprised that I liked it is because I am not someone who likes insta-love stories, and I don't really like pop star normal person, usually, unless it's like fan fiction, because it kind of leans all the way into that. This book was good. I liked it. I was satisfied at the end of it. Basically, we're following a girl who is a pop star, and I can't remember her name. What was her name? Emilia. And she's a pop star. I'm thinking she's kind of giving Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift kind of vibes, right? She's living in Nashville. She's feeling really smothered and claustrophobic in her little circle. So she decides she's going to drive to Rome, Kentucky. And you may be asking why she's going to Rome, Kentucky, which is basically like middle of nowhere, country Kentucky. It's because she can't really go to Rome because she wants to kind of leave in the middle of the night, and she's going to be on tour in the next couple of weeks, and she just needs a time to decompress and take a break from everything. And this is a small town, so she doesn't have to worry about paparazzi, things like that. So she goes to Rome, Kentucky, where her car breaks down, which I did like about her and her character. She still felt like grounded and down to earth, but she's driving her beat up car and she breaks down off the side of the road, and she's like, oh my goodness, of course my car is going to break down in the middle of this. I'm somewhere where there's no service. I'm probably gonna get murdered. And knock knock knock, here is this guy standing at her window like, do you need help? And she's like, no, I'm good. I don't need any help. Yada yada. Long story short, he's like, you're in my yard. Like, do you want help or not? And so she finally reluctantly says yes to getting help from this guy. And his name is Noah. And she's like, oh, he's kind of cute, but this is weird. I don't know this guy. I'm scared. He ends up helping her out, sending her a car to a mechanic, and he offers his home for her to crash because it's like the middle of the night. There's no way for her to get to a hotel. He's like, here's a character witness. This is my friend who knows me. Like, she can vouch for me. She goes and she stays in his guest room for the night. And this is kind of like where their story begins. I will say the reason this book did work for me is because I truly felt like there were obstacles for this couple to be together. Sometimes with romances, especially contemporary romances, the conflict between the two characters doesn't feel like a real conflict. You know what I'm saying? Like, there isn't a real reason you two should not be together. Y'all are just being weirdos. Like, just be together. In this story, because she's a really famous pop star and he wants to stay as connected to his small town and incognito because he's kind of fell for the big city girl before and he got his heart broken. He's like, I'm just chilling here in my small town and I don't want to have to face that big city life again because it kind of hurt me. I'm not the kind of person for that. So that felt like a genuine reason why they could not be together, because it just would not work. Their lifestyles are too different and neither one of them really want to leave their kind of lifestyle. Emilia's been having some like writer's block. She's been feeling suffocated and she likes the idea of small town life, but she has all these people that are counting on her as well, you know, like her fans, her team. And it's just a really sweet story. Grumpy sunshine. It is opposites attract, I think, and a little bit of insta love, but I love watching their friendship grow and then them kind of coming to terms with, wait, I really do like this person. And it just worked for me. I really liked it. I thought it was sweet. The writing is very cheesy. It's fluffy. There's not high stakes, but it's enough to kind of keep the story moving forward. And I am going to continue the series because Noah and his 3 sisters all get a book, and I like his sisters a lot, so I'm excited to read more about them. I thought I was gonna hate it, but I liked it. So we're in the home stretch. I got 2 more books for y'all. The next one that I finished, it took me literally from March 2nd into March 27 to read this book, and it was The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is the first and probably what's going to be a quartet. I am going to be honest with you, I still don't know what this book, like, I don't know how things work in this book still. But I did enjoy it. If you know me, I'm not a fantasy reader. I don't really love fantasy books, mainly because they're all, like, why are they all 600 pages? Like, why do they have to be that long? So I was very hesitant to read this book, but it was getting rave reviews. People were saying it's kind of like a science fiction fantasy in a way. So I was like, you know what, forget it. Let's just read it. If I don't like it, then I know that I don't like it. But I actually was surprised that I ended up liking it. I rated it a 4. It's like a solid 4.5 star book. This is about a kid named Vis. Now, Vis, let me back up. This book is inspired by Roman history. Like, picture the ancient Rome as the setting, okay? And this is a made-up world. In this story, we are in the Catenan Republic, okay? And also think of your dystopian novels, okay? Similar to Red Rising, there are different tiers of the quote-unquote pyramid that people will fall into. This was originally a prince of a king and queen of a small island called Seuss that wanted to stay independent from the Catenan Republic, right? But unfortunately, their island was taken over by the Catenan Republic, and the army or the people who were in charge of the republic, whatever, ended up, long story short, killed his family so they could have the island. This actually survived this attack and was able to flee, essentially, right? Now a young teenager, he's 18. It's almost giving like the chosen one to overthrow the government, but he's really hesitant. He does not want to. Am I making any sense? So this is living in an orphanage, assumed a new name, which is Vis. His original name is Diago, but he's going by Vis now, and he's living in this orphanage, right? But he's also working in the prisons. Now, in the prisons, the way power works in this republic, which I still don't really understand, is called will. Think like the Matrix when the people are like hooked up to the servers. That's how I had to envision it, because it really wasn't making sense in my brain. So people are hooked up and the people are the power, if that makes sense. Think like the Matrix. Okay, how everyone's plugged in. Honestly, but I'm telling you right now, I still don't understand how will works. I've been reading reviews and other people's, I still don't really get it. Anyways, so people are plugged in, right? And it's almost like it's electrical, like they're electrically plugged in. Because you know how like our bodies are like electric? Long story short, Vis is in an orphanage. He's like a street fighter trying to like, not a street fighter, but he's like a fighter. He's trying to like earn money so that he can, I don't even know what his goal is, to be honest. And this is why it's not a 5-star book. It's like a 4.5 star, because there are some things that I still don't understand about this book. That's like a me problem maybe. It's good, but like it was a little dense and not in a clear and concise way to me. But basically, he gets discovered by a high-ranking official. The official wants to take him in because he noticed him for some reason. And he says, hey, I'm going to train you and I'm going to send you to this elite school because my brother, quote-unquote, killed himself. But I don't think that he killed himself. I think he was killed by the government because he found something weird and they wanted to silence him. So that's Vis's job, is to kind of help him uncover what really happened to this guy's brother. There's a lot of stuff going on in this book, like literally so much. I want to read the second one, but as I'm explaining this to you, I'm like, do I want to read the second one? But I kind of do, because the ending of this first book, I was gagged, like literally gasped out loud. What? And now I was almost about to spoil it. I liked it, but I'm still confused. Don't really know what's going on. Maybe this is something I have to read to continue to understand what's happening. I don't know, because it literally took me a full 20 days to read this book. I was like, I really don't want to read this right now because I don't understand what's going on. And maybe that's my bad. Maybe this was too high of a fantasy book for me to read. Maybe I need to do like YA fantasy, but I don't know if I really like fantasy. I don't know, man. I rated it 4.5 stars. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good. If you like fantasy books, then I think you would like this book. And also there were some things about Vis that I was like, oh, that's convenient that he knows how to do this, or he knows how to do that, or he's getting out of this, scot-free, which was kind of annoying to me. But I digress. And then the last book that I finished this month was called The Compound, and this is by Aisling Roll. I don't really know I think it's Roll. And this book is pitched as Love Island meets Lord of the Flies. And I definitely can see that comparison for sure. This book is kind of set in near future and it's kind of dystopian. There are major wars that are happening, climate change has really affected the earth. There are these giant bushfires and natural disasters that are happening, but the whole world really loves to tune into this show, The Compound. If you've ever watched Love Island or Big Brother or even like Survivor, essentially you get a bunch of really good looking singles in a villa somewhere super nice and idyllic, and they have to couple up, and it's a dating show. In this show, it's also a competition where people can get eliminated. In this book, we follow our main lead, whose name is Lily. Lily is a beautiful blonde woman, which is why she got casted to the show, and she's kind of living kind of an aimless life. So she gets on this show because she's kind of tired of the real world. Her ultimate goal on this show is to make it to the final one, because if you make it to the finals, you can ask for any and everything that you want and it'll just be delivered to you. This book was really interesting. It has a lot of mixed reviews because not a lot happens in this book. I'll be one to tell you right now, this is a character slice of life kind of story, but it's set in this like near future world, and that was extremely vague, and I wish there was a little bit more context to what was going on in the outside world. But I also think that was kind of the point of the novel, because when you think about even like today, people are really engrossed in like reality TV and these dating shows. Meanwhile, there are wars going on and there are bad things happening all over the planet, and we just want to watch the newest season of the Kardashians. It's the same thing. This book, it is definitely satirical for sure, which I also think is going over a lot of people's heads. Like, this is satire. So the characters are supposed to be exaggerated and deeply annoying and people that you hate. Like, that's the point, because it's kind of pointing the mirror to look at the content that you're watching on TV every single day. And the show itself, The Compound, like in this book, is something that airs every single day, much like Love Island and Big Brother when it's on TV. I thought this book was really interesting. It made me think. There is a lot of different themes in this book, like gender roles, feminism, masculinity, Loki, the alpha male phenomenon that's happening currently, how racist these reality dating shows can be by casting, like, you know, the one black girl, the one black guy, and everyone just expects them to be together. And if either one of them kind of strays to a different kind of race, start to develop feelings for, it's really pushed against. Is it incredible? Again, no. I think it'd be a good book club book because there's lots of themes to talk about if you're tuned in to what the author is trying to tell you. And I think a lot of people would get different things from the story. I know for myself, I could see what the author was trying to say, and although that didn't land all the way there for me to give it a 5 stars, I think giving it like a 3.75, like, it was almost tuned in. I wish it leaned a little bit more into either a dystopian. I think she could have really gone for it, similar to like a Lord of the Flies kind of situation. I liked it, and I recommend it if you're looking for something different to read. It's a different, unique kind of book, similar to Westward Women. Like, it's something that you don't pick up and see advertised a lot by people. I've been yapping for such a long time. Good grief. That's basically everything that I've read in January, February, and majority of what I've read this month in March. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. An hour long. The editing of this is going to be insane. I already know. In the middle of a couple of books right now. I just got my library hold for And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. So I'm excited to read Jackson's story because I really like Jackson. And I'm also reading a couple of arcs that are going to be due in April. The Escape Game by Marissa Meyer. It comes out on April 7th. And this is a YA novel that's set in an escape room kind of thing. I just started it, so I can't even tell you like if I think it's going to be good or not. It's what I'm currently reading right now. I'm probably going to be carrying those over into April, so you'll see the reviews of that at the end of April. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. It's springtime. I'm feeling more motivated. Wintertime is just a hard time for me. If you made it this far, comment. What should we do? Comment this emoji. I don't know what it is yet, but you see it. And tell me your favorite book that you've read in the past fiscal quarter. I would love to know. And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and TikTok with the same handle, xluannareads. And I will catch you on my next video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Doses.